Okay. Dr. Belabbassi earned her Master of Science and PhD from the Department of Oceanography at Texas A&M University, where she studied the impact of river discharges and loop current eddies on the local oceanography of the northern Gulf of Mexico. She started her career as a scientist in the industry for 8 years, focusing on the data quality assurance protocol. Going back to the higher education's research for 7 years with Rutgers University. In 2019, Dr. Belabbassi returned to the Texas A&M University as the data manager for the Gulf of Mexico Coastal Ocean Observing System and began her teaching career with the online master program in geosciences. She is also still active with the industry, providing solutions for federal entities such as NOAA, EPA, and PSEE. Dr. Belabbassi, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I thank you for being here with us. I wanted to share with you today my experience with AI in my online classes this semester. Just a little history to what got me to try AI in my courses. I took the course Teaching with Artificial Intelligence offered by TAMU, Center of Teaching Excellence, last semester. Prior to enrolling in this course, I lacked a complete understanding of the issues surrounding AI in higher education. The course, different activities really helped me see how I can get started thinking about the impact AI may have on my students' learning if I don't address it with them. So I have decided to integrate some of the activities I practiced during the course in my preparation for this semester courses. I teach an introductory course to Python as a programming language for the geosciences and another course about data quality for the geosciences. In both courses, I have assignment that asks students to create programming codes to solve problems. Other assignments are in the form of open question to discuss topics or an activity to create a data workflow or a diagram to depict a specific process. With my self-awareness of AI availability now, I need to find out how is that going to affect my students' learning and what changes I need to introduce to my courses to address that. But before I get started, I asked myself like a few questions. How much my students know about AI, right? And what if I introduce them formally to use AI in my courses? Because I don't know if all students are familiar with the new tool and do they know how to use it? Are they using it? Or maybe what do they think about it? So I needed some kind of answers to those questions. So I decided to not create a survey and ask direct questions. And instead, I chose to offer an assignment as an extra credit, where I asked students to create an account on ChatGPT website, which is the AI tool I chose for this test. I asked them to enter a prompt provided by the assignment. So the exact wording needs to go on the website, on that box, ChatGPT box, and then copy and paste the output to a discussion board and comment on each other outputs by comparing them and answering the question. What constitutes an academic dishonesty if you use the ChatGPT prompt output as an answer to your assignment? The students were also asked to use the provided AI rules and policies I introduced in the courses to formulate their answers. So they have like a checklist to go by. For the coding class, I put a section about coding ethics and plagiarism in the introductory module. And for the data quality class, I added a section called AI policies for academic integrity to the introductory module also. The two sections were different because of the nature of the two classes. One is purely for solving problems through coding with Python. So the rules were about what if you decide to go with a block of code, then what do you need to do to create your own from that block or such and such, so to make it into your own, to make it pass the academic integrity test we have in the class. The other class is about how to handle data and measure its quality. So the policies were more about documenting the use of AI and verifying the accuracy of the information and confirming that it's reliable. The assignment did the trick. Right, I learned from my students and got some of my questions answered about how familiar they are with the AI tools. Some students did not know about AI at all. Some students do have some experience with using AI. Others have used it heavily in their work. And other ones, they don't know how to use it. They have heard about it, but never used it. So it varies. I share here some of the AI prompts they have pasted to the discussion board. So in comparison to what I have provided them and to what they were seeing from each other. As you can see, entering the same prompt in ChatGPT was different on different accounts. You can get a short answer or a long answer, or you can go further and ask ChatGPT to check the answers. But in all cases, ChatGPT did provide the right block of code to solve the problem. For the other class assignment, they were asked to compare how ChatGPT defined data quality. And if you read some of the highlights I copied from the students' comment, they all refer to one particular thing, which is the responses are very similar with some variation in details of how the information is presented. So everybody got almost the same identical answers from ChatGPT. What is interesting is a note from a student making an observation about why that can be. For the variation. So he's trying to explain why we're seeing some variation, which is not much. So the student added that the results are learned over time. By each result, ChatGPT take the information and make it better and randomize depending on the entry of each account. Interesting enough, he's not wrong, because ChatGPT does learn from the prompts it receives and incorporate this information into its algorithm to generate better results over time. It is called like a retraining of the model, but it's not done in real time. So over time, it will change and it will improve its responses to the prompts entered. One more remark about the feedback that I find interesting, that one of the students used ChatGPT 4, and he says that he observes that the language used on ChatGPT 4 resembles more a human, work, which is different than ChatGPT 3.5 that kind of, you can tell that it is produced by a computer. So going back to the use of ChatGPT outputs in an assignment, the students were asked what constitutes an academic dishonesty. And they all agreed that you cannot use the block of code presented by AI. And they all agreed that you must add a comment such as referencing AI, which they did in the example shown here. The student also recognized that they need to add more comments following the rules set in the course, like why are you using this block instead of your own? Give some reasons. But that did not happen. In those examples I show here, they just used the same block and added a reference to AI. So which raises some concerns and give me a lot to think about. How do I make this experience or the expectation clearer in the assignment body? like maybe it wasn't clear enough for them. So this is something on my part to fix. But their conversations, like in the discussion board, was very, very interesting. So the students were raising the question, is this going to hinder their learning? So the concern is already there. And I see good answers that I'm sharing here. Like, do not rely on it every time. It's up to the person to fully understand how the code works. Just copying it down doesn't mean we understand how it works. So that's all good. Use it as a learning aid and then learn from the tool rather than leveraging it for plagiarism. It is a useful tool, but not the whole solution. So those are all concerns and answers to each other prompts. And the last one I'm sharing here, it can be an excellent way to start the flow of ideas and help navigate an issue when stuck. All of these notes are relevant to the proper use of an AI tool. And it seems to be the default chain of thoughts that a person experiences when they work with AI tool. At least I did. So what I wanted to finish here by is to share with you how my students are doing in my classes since the beginning of the semester. And after this experience with AI as an introduction to this tool. And to my surprise, my students are still going through the internet search and the literature to complete their assignment. And I have not seen any heavy use of AI, except occasionally when I see like, I've seen this, but I'm not using it or something like that. But it's not, I can tell that they're not using the tool. And I think I know why. Remember the similarities students saw in the discussion board, like the answers from the ChatGPT were almost exactly the same. And there were almost identical. The structure of the text, the presentation, the language formulation, the variable choices for the code used in the example, the names of the variables. So it's like they need to do a lot of alterations to step away from the original text. And if you have like, and they were seeing that real time, right? They were in a discussion board talking about it, and I had like 12 students participating. So they know that if they change it just a little bit, I can tell where it's coming from. So there's a lot of work to be done there. Added to that, I followed up with my students on completing the AI exercise and confirmed some of the thoughts they had and cautioned them about the tool and also discouraged them to use it to complete the task, basically, and encouraged them to treat it like any other internet resources, especially for the course they are taking this semester. So maybe that played a role too. Because I sent an announcement and I explained that I agree with you, like it looks very similar and everything is the same. So you need to be you need to be aware of what you're getting is very similar to what everybody else is getting. So you cannot use it as your first response to any assignment. You have to learn from it and do your own work. And also documenting the AI use and validating its information may be more involved than completing the task on your own. Because like for the data class I teach, if you ask ChatGPT for any of the assignment, it will give you like a standard kind of answer. But you'll have to verify the information. You will need to dig up the references. So there is a lot of work there. In addition to that, you have to make sure that you need to, if you are going to use the text from the ChatGPT, you have to change a lot because you can be caught very easily with the rest of your classmates. So I'm still learning about AI use in the classroom. I'm not completely clear of how that will work. And I think I will continue working with my students to learn about it from them. So it's used, so it's not used to decrease their learning experience, quite the opposite. But that's it for me. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm here to try to answer some of your questions. Thank you.